Hi Celine, so nice to meet you. I'm
nice
James,
to meet
this is
you.
George.
Hey,
We're from a
George.
film podcast called PULP KITCHEN.
Okay.
And we just want to say congratulations on the film.
Thank you so much.
We're really excited to speak to you. We both loved Past Lives and it's
Yeah.
one of our favourite films of 2023, so it's
Great,
such a
thank
pleasure
you.
to meet you today.
So good to meet you guys.
Absolutely. It was such a great movie, and actually in the 2 years since, what's been great on our show is how many people have written in and talked about how much they love that show alongside our love for it as well.
Yeah.
And my first question is really just about 2 years on from that whole experience, like now people really rate that movie and hold it dearly as one of their favourite movies. Like how do you feel about that whole experience and how do you reflect on the fact that people love that film and hold it so dearly?
I think it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
No? I think that I had the pleasure of releasing that film globally, and I was going to go around the world and talk to everyone. I think that it really gave me the kind of a confirmation of something that I believed, which is that all of us are very, very interested in our own lives. That we're very interested in love in our own lives, right? Love in many different kinds. I think that that is something that I really took to feel a lot of confidence when it came to my new movie, Materialists. Because the thing about this movie is that, of course, I always knew, I feel like even though there are very few romantic comedies of this kind, and there are many things about like, well, where does modern romance really exist in cinema? Like, where does it exist? And I would always know the answer, which is that like, no, I mean, honestly, I went globally with my first film talking about feelings in our lives. And everybody is obsessed with it. And everybody is obsessed with talking about feelings in their own lives. So I know that. I know that it's something that I do think that we're a little varied in how embarrassed we are to admit it.
Yeah.
You know, like some people are more shy to tell me about their love life than others. But I always knew that there was such great interest in it. So anytime there was a bit of doubt about like, yeah, will people come see this movie in the movie theaters? I'm like, absolutely. People are going to want to come and see Materialists because we're all interested in having a conversation. We want an opportunity to sit in a movie theater and get to talk about our own love, relationship, marriage, dating. Yeah.
And so I noticed in both Past Lives and Materialists,
Yeah.
you really love to compose your frame with two characters on either side of the
Yeah.
screen, long conversations, ideological clashes. What is it about that composition that lends itself so well to telling your stories?
Well, I think that, some of it is about seeing the movie in the cinemas, I think, that more than being on a smaller monitor or something in streaming and something like that. I think about this sometimes like, well, I think that sometimes there's an overuse of close-ups because, of course, I totally understand it if you're watching it on your phone. It is so much easier to connect to a story when you're just at least seeing the, on your small screen, the face as big as it can be. But I do know that, like, because I'm making this movie for a movie theater, some of it is like I get to compose frames like that. But I do think that fundamentally blocking and then the way they exist in the frame, way they exist in relation to each other, and for us, all of us to feel like we're actually watching them from afar as voyeurs of the conversation. That's actually a way that we can feel more immersed, right? Necessarily, because then you're not just trying to locate yourself in the conversation in a way where you're like being reminded it's a movie, but you're kind of like, no, we're just sitting at the other table,
One thing I love is that New York City in this film feels like a character, in the same way it did in Past Lives.
Yeah.
It's a very present feature of this movie. And obviously you have the Cat Power song with Manhattan at
Yes.
the beginning, which I love.
Yeah.
And the argument in the traffic as well, it just feels very New York.
Yes.
How important was it for you that this story took place in this city?
Well, I think it's very important. I feel like it's a very specific kind of materialism we're talking about. I think like London has its own materialism, right? Or like I'm sure LA has its own, and Houston. So it had to be depicted in the way that is unique to this particular story. But I also like not just New York, but I feel I like metropolises as a site of romance, because I feel like my joke is sometimes that it's like every corner of New York City, every inch of New York City, someone has peed there and someone has kissed there, right? So what's amazing about especially the outdoor spaces in the film, you're like, well, this is a place that I know that someone has peed there and also kissed there. And knowing that, but for two of them, for John and Lucy, or Harry and Lucy, this has become a special place that is now associated with their own unique experience of love. And I think that to me is like at the heart of the film. Like, there's a reason why the whole movie ends in the marriage bureau, right? I think about this so much because I'm like, well, the movie's called Materialists, and I think about the sort of material representation of like love and relationship and marriage and history. Like if you talk to a historian, the historian will tell you that one of the most reliable records for a historian is the marriage record. So when you go to the New York City city clerk's office, I'm sure you guys have one where you can get married at a city hall. Yeah. So you go and then you look at all the records of the names that are next to each other, right? They all look so equal, but we know that some of those marriages were wonderful. Some of those marriages were abusive and horrible. Some of those marriages began beautifully and then ended badly, or began as practical and then ended as in love. Like, we don't know, but what we know is that those two names are in record. And of course, not to mention queer love, because queer love has no record. But it doesn't mean that what happened between two queer people in history is less significant or less important, or less profound. So I think that I was thinking about the way that marriage is this thing where it's deeply a practical, deeply a practical material. Like, why do you do it? Well, taxes, healthcare, right? Immigration, right? There's so many, such a paperwork's kind of a reason why it's a way for the state to recognize you as a unit. Like, there's so many ways that it is seen as this very material thing, and I think that's quite true. But what happens between two people, right? Like, it's the way that the film begins with the cave people falling in love. We know that those stone tools traveled. We know we have a record of those stone tools travel, but we don't have the record of that little flower ring. We don't have a record of what passed between these two people. So I think, to me, it's like the duality of that, which I think is it is a continuation of what I was making a movie about in Past Lives too, because it's also about, if you think about in Past Lives, inyan, right? The thing about inyan is it's about a thing that has no shape, that has no material impact on your life. Inyan is just something that we feel. That's it, right? But then of course there is the reality of soul in New York, the marriage, right? So I think that the kind of the contradiction of how our lives are both completely material, is made up of material things, and also that it's totally a spiritual, made up of human feelings. I think that is a theme that I think I would say, if you ask me what is a theme that's run between those two films, my only two films, but my two films, I would say I think that is something that always really interests me.
You've got such an amazing cast in this film, and I was wondering, as a writer, and they do so well in this film. You obviously write incredibly personally from the films you direct. When you give that role to someone, do you also feel like you're giving that role away to them and it's now theirs to run with it? Do you ever write with a specific actor in mind? How's your relationship with almost like handing over that role as a director and writer?
Well, I think that I write without actors in mind, and then I go out as if I'm a matchmaker into the world looking for the character's soulmates. And with all three of them, because of Past Lives, I got to meet them because they seen the movie, they want to meet me. So we were just meeting in like kind of a casual way. And I think in all three of their cases, at some point in our conversation that were about something else like love and life, I think that I just had a feeling, I think you're the soulmate of Lucy, John, or Harry. And I think that, and then I would be like, I think you're a soulmate of this character. Would you read the script? And just like all love relationship, all three of them, of course, saw the characters and they fell in love with it, right? And I think that, the thing about the three actors is that they really understand the central theme of the film, which is the most important line in the film is, I'm not merchandise, I'm a person. I think that the three of them really understand that in this movie called Materialists, because all three of them have been treated as merchandise before. Because of their careers. So I feel like they understood the feeling of like, no, I'm not merchandise, I'm a person. So my relationship to them is a relationship between two people more than anything, right? And as for giving it away, I think that I wouldn't really want to describe it as giving it away, but that now we get to share. Now we get to be in love with the same character together.
All the time we have for with a lot of questions, but congratulations on the movie again.
Thank you so much.